at one time, perhaps 20 years ago, as Minister of Spiritual Life at our congregation in Brooklyn, New York. When I got there, I found a celebration that I had never heard of before, Juneteenth. And I said, what on earth is Juneteenth? Well, we've heard what Juneteenth is. And I just fell in love with the concept of a time when we were honored, a time when a true story changed the face, the nature of history. I then took the commemoration rather than celebration of Juneteenth with me when I went to serve in Garden City, New York as the senior minister. And it was quite something. I started off with a service, Juneteenth. Garden City is a pretty much all white congregation. Hope, why would you be celebrating Juneteenth? You know, who's it for? I said, it's for all of us. It's a redefinition, a reclaiming of freedom for all, a rewriting of history. And so I started with a service, and then eventually we had a special meal after the service, a luncheon. And in the end, after 15 years, we had one of the hugest celebrations on Long Island. Not only did our congregation participate, but congregations, Unitarian, Universalist, and more. Friends from community would come, cross the river, and come to Garden City. And we said, why not take it with us to community? Esther Rosado was with us and said, Esther, can we not bring this to community? So Janice and Esther and I brought Juneteenth to Community Church. And it started there with some wonderful programs that I'm so very proud of still. And it continues in the same way that now I am Minister Emerita in Garden City. It still continues. So I am proud that it has mushroomed, and now several congregations, not only in our region, but far beyond, celebrate, commemorate Juneteenth each year. One of the things that's happening with the Unitarian Universalist Association is that Juneteenth will become one of those special days that we can take off to honor our ancestors, our history, our lives. And so as Juneteenth mushrooms on, I am really, really happy. Let me just take it to now. To now today, when I understand that Governor Cuomo is thinking about making this a national holiday. It might happen, maybe next year, but for sure we are celebrating all that is happening this year. And I could not be prouder. We celebrated in Jamaica, my country. We never heard of Juneteenth. I want to leave you with some words by Michelle Obama. Most of us were taught, she writes, that slavery came to an end when President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. But, as is so often the case, the full promise of this country was delayed for segments of the African American community. And for enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, freedom didn't come until June 19th, 1865. That's 2 years plus. And what I love about Juneteenth, she writes, is that even in that extended wait, we still find something to celebrate. Even though the story has never been tidy and Black folks have had to march and to fight for every inch of our freedom, our story is nonetheless one of promise. I think of my own family's journey. Both of my grandfathers were the grandchildren of enslaved people. They grew up in the Jim Crow South and migrated north in search of a better life. Even then, they were still shut out of jobs and schools and opportunities because of the color of their skin. But they pressed forward with dignity and with purpose, raising good kids, contributing to their communities, and voting in every election. And though they didn't live to see it themselves, I can see the smiles on their faces, knowing that their great-granddaughters ended up playing ball in the halls of the White House, a magnificent structure built by enslaved Americans. All across the country, there's so many more parts to this story. The generations of families whose work and service and protest has led us forward, even if the protest, the promise that we seek, is so often delayed. So this Juneteenth, let's all pledge to keep using our voices and our votes to keep that story marching forward for our own children and for theirs.